everyone. This is My Mic, Your Voice podcast, and today's guest is Sue Phillips. I am so happy to have her on. Thank you for taking the time out today to speak with me, Sue. If you don't mind, tell people a little bit about your background.
Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure to be here, and I'm always thrilled to be invited to speak about what I love to do. I'm originally from South Africa. People often ask me if I'm from England or Australia, but I'm not. I'm Southern African. I've been in America many, many years, and I came to America to be a singer and an actress, and I landed up becoming a fragrance expert in the perfume industry. So I love to create custom fragrances for people as well as create fragrances for people who would love to reflect their individuality and their personality through their own custom scent. And that's what I do.
Okay, that's wonderful. Yes, and once again, I'm so thankful to have you on today. My first question to you, Sue, is who inspired you to start creating perfume and colognes?
It was actually serendipitous. I I came to America and I was going to want to get into theater. And the immigration attorney said to me, forget that there are 20,000 out of work singers and actresses. So what else do I do? And I had said that I had done a business course. And he said, well, were you any good? And I said yes. And he actually processed my green card. And at night I'd go singing and acting. At the end of the year, when I got my green card, I went to a headhunter and I got three job offers in 1 week. One was to work in banking, which is not for me. One was to work in fashion. At the time, I didn't feel I knew anything about fashion. And the third one was actually to be going to Elizabeth Arden, the cosmetics company. And I said, aha, that is something that I love. Idea of cosmetics, fragrance, makeup, beauty, and it kind of tied into with what I love to do. So that was how I started. I had no idea I would ever be in the fragrance industry. It just happened serendipitously. And from there, I landed up becoming, after many, many, many years, a fragrance expert.
Oh, that is amazing, Sue. And I'm very thrilled about Africa because that's on my bucket list. I would love to go to Africa. Wow. I am just so excited for you and the fragrance that you create. I hear great reviews for you. And that lead me to ask you, tell us about your very first creation, the very first fragrance that you created, and who was it for?
Well, when I started Elizabeth Arden, I was in training and then I did product development and marketing. Then I was at Arden for 6 years, and then Lancome hired me as marketing director for fragrance and men's skincare. I was there for 4 years. And then the most exciting thing happened. I was contacted by a headhunter to interview to be the vice president of Tiffany and Company. Now,
Oh, okay.
Brenda, if you'd have told me growing up in South Africa that one day I would be executive vice president of Tiffany, I'd say you're crazy. But that's what happened. I was so excited. They interviewed me. I got the job, and it was the honor of my life to create the 150th anniversary perfume for Tiffany to celebrate their 150th anniversary. And I created the Tiffany perfume with a perfumer from Chanel, who was the senior vice
Oh,
president of perfumery for Chanel. Because at that time, Tiffany really didn't know anything about distribution for fragrance. They were obviously in the
mhm.
jewelry, the luxury jewelry area. And so we did a joint venture with Chanel. So I landed up going to Paris working with Jacques Poge from Chanel to create the Tiffany perfume. And it was magnificent, just a beautiful project. And I was so honored to be part of it. And that's really how I started. After Tiffany, I started my own company called Centerprises. And I've created fragrances for Burberry, for Trish McEvoy, for Avon, for Lancaster. And then I started my own custom fragrance business. And I've created fragrances for many, many top celebrities as well.
Oh, okay. Yes, we're going to get into that one because I got a couple I want to ask you about. Yes, well, I am impressed. That is awesome. And I see you wearing almost like your Tiffany color today.
Oh yes, it's so funny. I'm always in red and always in black, and it's such a beautiful day here. And I said, well, let's have a little bit of spring and sunshine. So, I guess actually I'm in almost Tiffany green, Tiffany blue. So, quite by chance.
I know, and look at my brooch. It's almost like, okay,
Exactly,
I
we're
did
in the
not
same
plan that.
the same color theme. I love it, turquoise and Tiffany blue.
Yes, yes, I love your story. That is amazing.
Thank you.
Wow. All right. So, during your creative process, do you have that one main ingredient that's used in every perfume or cologne that you create?
No, no, not at all. That would be like saying if you go to a restaurant, you only want to eat one kind of a dish or one kind of ingredient.
Hmm.
No, no, no. Fragrance is really a combination of so many different ingredients in different families: fresh, floral, woodsy, spicy, musky, fruity.
Hmm.
And the idea is that I take people on a fragrance journey and I show them all the different fragrance blends, and then they select the ones that they like. So, for instance, some men want to be very fresh and robust and they like a citrus fragrance. And some people like something a little bit more woodsy and more sexy and sensual. And, there's no one ingredient that satisfies everybody. Basically, people just want to smell wonderful and they want a fragrance that reflects their individuality and their personality. So, the idea that, one fragrance is good for everybody really doesn't work. That would be saying like one dish is going to be perfect for everybody. People have different tastes. Some people like spicy, some people like sweet, some people like,
Hmm.
savory. So, the same is true in perfumery.
Oh, that is so true. That is awesome. Yes, I myself like kind of like a sweet, but not too sweet. Some of my favorites is like Versace, um, Calvin Klein Escape, and I like Dolce Gabbana Light Blue. And when I put on
So,
my Ed Hardy, I wear that when I'm going like to work out. That's my workout perfume, so that's when I like to wear that one.
So that tells me that what the fragrances you mentioned tells me that you like light, citrusy, very fresh, bright, uplifting fragrances. Am I right?
Yes.
Because Calvin Klein Escape and Versace and these others are very light in the citrus family, as opposed to spicy and woodsy or floral.
Hmm.
So, it's interesting that you happen to like those because it makes you feel good. You're working out, you want to be fresh, you want to feel good. So you're working out and you're giving that wonderful vibe of being uplifted and refreshing and, self confident.
Yes. Yes. Now, as a scent connoisseur, what is the time frame from the moment you think of the idea, you develop it, and it's put into a bottle? What are your time frames?
That's a great question. It can take anywhere from 3 months to 3 years and somewhere in between. You know, Creating a fragrance is like composing a beautiful symphony or creating a beautiful piece of art or actually even just, creating a beautiful, dish. It takes time. It takes the right ingredients. It takes the proper packaging. So it's really creating an entire masterpiece. And sometimes it can happen very quickly, and sometimes it can happen that it takes longer. So there's no real finite time frame.
Mhm.
Sometimes people can create a fragrance by saying, "Oh, I love this, this, this." You show them the ingredients, they love it, and off they go. And sometimes it can just take longer.
Okay, that makes
But I
sense.
would I would say that if people really wanted to create their fragrance from beginning to end, they should
Hmm.
think about it for about a year.
Okay.
If people come to me, I've already created 18 different perfume blends that I said span the entire olfactive palette: fresh, floral, woodsy, spicy, fruity, musky, and so on. And then so people can come to me, meet with me. I take them on a fragrance journey. They evaluate the different blends, and then they select what they like. So they don't have to make the fresh or the floral or the woodsy or the spicy. They can just select what they like and then combine what they like. And then that can, take a matter of hours. And then if they want to do it for a business, we work on packaging, we work on the bottles, we work on that kind of thing. So that also takes a little longer.
Okay. All right. So that goes to one of my questions I have for you down the line about packaging and stuff like that. So, okay. Now, Sue, when choosing your ingredients to make your fragrances, is there any particular one that's difficult to work with?
What's difficult to work with are a lot of natural ingredients because so many ingredients have been banned by the FDA and by OSHA and some of these regulatory bodies. For instance, we can't use anything from animals in the American perfumery because certain animals obviously are have become very endangered, and so we don't want to work with animal musks or ambergris or that kind of thing. So it's difficult because sometimes you don't get the same fragrance that you would get from a natural musk or a natural animal, ingredient. And so a lot of the times people are now using chemicals or synthetics or molecules, and it might be similar, but it might not be the same. So there's that challenge. The other challenge is that certain ingredients have become so expensive because we've had earthquakes and fires and floods and all
Hmm.
these natural disasters affect natural ingredients. So think about this, if there are fires and floods and earthquakes, it affects the natural ecology. And so it's very hard to get those beautiful ingredients. So that's why sometimes it's very difficult to duplicate a fragrance that you might have loved growing up or that might have been very popular. But now, because it's so expensive and some of these ingredients have been discontinued or they're too expensive or they're even been banned, you have to recreate the fragrance with molecules and different chemicals. So that can be challenging and that can be different. And while it might smell the same, it might never be the same.
Okay. Oh, that's incredible. Oh, that's nice information to know. Wow. Because I did have a fragrance that I was looking for, but they don't sell it anymore. So that might be why.
Well, I cannot tell you how, in fact, even people who loved the Tiffany perfume originally,
Hmm.
Tiffany actually discontinued it. They came up with different variations and different other
Okay.
fragrances, but not the original Tiffany. And I have to say that many clients have contacted me without knowing that I was the one who actually developed it with Jacques Polish and say, "Oh, I love the Tiffany perfume, and we can't get it." And I've actually tried to recreate it. I can recreate it to a certain extent, but it'll
Hmm.
never be 100% the same. So I have sort of a modification of it, but it's still very pretty. But it's never the actual ingredient because sometimes those ingredients are discontinued.
All right. So you are the scent connoisseur.
Yes, the scent queen.
Yes, the scent queen,
my,
of
my
course.
crown is missing right now.
No, trust me, you wear it daily. Yes, your background is extensive. Yes, I'm just so
Thank you.
impressed. And I was like, I
Thank
just
you.
have to have her on. And I'm just thankful that you chose to come on. Yes.
Thank you for having me.
Now, now this is one of those myth or fact questions. Can a fragrance really change someone's mood or confidence?
Absolutely. Yes, I love that question. I love that question. You know, Brenda, this is such a great question because our sense of smell is tied
Mhm.
directly linked to our brain, our limbic system. And that is where the seat of emotion happens. And so fragrance is linked to memory and emotions. Now,
Okay.
a couple of things happen. If you love a fragrance and there's a very happy occasion and a happy memory, whenever you wear that fragrance, you're going to think of those happy times or those happy memories, maybe a childhood, maybe a loved one, maybe a baby, maybe your parents, maybe your first kiss, whatever the memory is. It could be a positive memory, obviously, but maybe it could be a negative memory. Maybe when you're a kid and you fell and you broke your leg and your mom brought you a vanilla lollipop or vanilla ice cream. Maybe the pain was so great, but the vanilla ice cream or lollipop made you think of the pain. So maybe that's why a lot of people might not like vanilla today, because it triggers a memory from way back then.
Okay.
Or the converse is that you love vanilla because your mom brought you vanilla when you were not feeling well and she made you feel good. So it gives you a really good memory. So the other thing is true, that when you wear a fragrance that really reflects who you are, and you love it, and it makes you feel confident, and it makes you feel, so happy, and people say to you, wow, what are you wearing? You smell great. What does that do? It makes you feel confident. It makes you feel happy. You stand up taller. You have a big smile on your face, because there's nothing better than getting a wonderful compliment about what you're wearing and how you look and how you feel. So absolutely, fragrance can make you feel confident. It can make you feel happy. It can bring back really great memories. And, fragrance is all about joy. It's all about bringing in beautiful ingredients and all the senses, the colors, the sounds of music and nature, and, just making you feel happy. And I always like to say that, honestly, our sense of smell is our most powerful sense. Sight is our strongest, but our sense of smell is our most powerful sense. And it's really the one thing that connects memory, emotion, smell, and taste. So, yes, that's a great question. Fragrance can definitely make you feel happy and confident.
Oh yeah, but you took me back to a situation when I was in an elevator, and three men got on. I was like, oh my god, I felt so nervous. But then the one guy said, "What are you wearing?" I said, "Escape." He said, "Oh, you smell good," and I was like,
But didn't
okay.
that make you feel fantastic and really made you feel great?
Yes, yes.
Because scent is so powerful. I mean, even though you can't see it, when you wear it, it diffuses, and it's like an aura around you. And so, the fact that those three men were in the elevator and one commented so positively about you, and it made you feel great. You see, you remember it years later as well.
Yes, yes,
Yes.
so, yes, absolutely. Yes. Oh my God, I am loving this. Oh God, you are awesome. Are you involved with the naming and packaging design of the fragrances that you help your clients create?
Usually, absolutely. When I was at Elizabeth Arden and Lancome and Tiffany, absolutely. Because to me, it's part of the whole branding proposition. You know, just to create a fragrance without understanding the name or the demographics or the positioning or the marketing. And there are many people who do that. They just work on the fragrance. But to me, to really become very authentic and to create an entire really beautiful brand proposition, I think it's important to understand who the fragrance is for, who's the demographic, what is the in marketing we call the four P's: product, place, price, and product. Product, place, price, and yes, it's understanding the whole aspect of the fragrance, not just working in isolation. So I get involved in all of that when I'm working with clients.
Okay, that's nice. Oh, I would love to be a fly on the
Oh,
wall watching you
sorry.
work.
Product, I should know this: product, place, price, and promotion. It's also how you want to market and
Okay,
advertise. So yes, in the
okay,
four P's, it's marketing 101 when you work on a product, and you have to put all those aspects together.
okay. Awesome. I like the four P's. Okay. Now, in a competitive market, what makes Sue Phillips brand be the one that everyone need to wear?
Well, I hope that it's going to be the one that everybody wants to wear. So from your mouth to God's ears. I think, with trying not to be too immodest, but because of my background and because of all the products and the brands that I've worked with, and because I really am authentic, I believe in quality. I believe in beautiful ingredients, high quality ingredients. Whenever I meet with people at my boutique and I do custom fragrances, it's all about creating a fragrance that reflects my client's personality and individuality. And I will work until it happens. I think that what I've done is create a brand awareness of that we offer quality products, quality perfumes, high quality ingredients. And I've never had anybody complain of headaches or allergies. And Brenda, I've been in the fragrance industry for longer than you're old, 45 years. And in the last, I'd say 5 to 8 to 10 years, all I hear is, oh, fragrances give me headache. Fragrances give me headache. And people complain about fragrances, the commercial fragrances giving them headaches. Well, it's because of so many different factors. I told you certain ingredients have been banned. Some ingredients are being created by molecules and by chemicals. And maybe a beautiful jasmine is so expensive, so they make it, synthetically. And maybe some of those molecules give people headaches. So, one thing that I'm very excited and proud about is that I've never had anybody complain of headaches or allergies from my fragrances. Now, they're a little bit more expensive because I have to really source them in a very proper, authentic way. And I'm not just taking the first thing that comes along just because it sounds or smells like a vanilla or a jasmine or a citrus. But I really work on creating beautiful fragrances. So I think what people realize is that with me, they're
Mhm.
going to get great quality products, a really good conversation in terms of fragrance and what works well for them, and that I'm authentic. I work really hard. I try and work very smart, but I never give up. And
Mhm.
I think people know that.
Okay, well, awesome. Well, like I say, from what I read and what I see, your work is, I mean, it's just tremendous. You're doing such a tremendous job. And
Well, thank you. I had people yesterday. This gentleman told me he was coming. He didn't tell me with his wife. I thought it was with his partner. And this gorgeous man showed up with a beautiful wife. They've been married 32 years, and he's in the music business. He's actually he's got a huge community of maybe 100,000 people because he does a lot of um, um, community work and pastoring, and he wanted to create fragrances for his community. And we worked from 3 o'clock until 6:30 last night, almost 7 o'clock, and they created 6 or 7 fragrances, different versions, 3 for him, 3 or 4 for him, for her. And it was such a joyous expression. It was so joyful and so joyous because I showed them the different fragrances, and they each selected 3 or 4 blends that they liked, that they both loved, for her and then for him. And so I
mhm.
felt so great that, and they drove 7 hours from Virginia Beach to see me, and then they were
Oh,
going back
wow.
today. So people who hear about me through Google, thank you Google and ChatGPT, find me, and they love what we create for them.
Yeah. Well, hey, you're the queen of scent, so I'm not surprised. I'm not surprised. Absolutely.
We have to
Now,
make one for you. We have to create one for you.
okay, absolutely. Oh my goodness, smelling like Sue. All right now. I would love it. And that leads me to this question here. Who is the one person you would love to create a custom scent for, dead or alive?
Wow. Well,
Who is that one person?
I am very honored to say I've created fragrances for thousands of people. But I will tell you that, growing up in South Africa, Nelson Mandela
Hmm.
was my hero. And I get
Okay.
very choked up when I think about what he endured. He, went to prison for 27 years. And when he came out of prison, and eventually he wrote a book called The Long Walk to Freedom, I sat in New York City in my apartment. I think it was around 4 o'clock in the morning that he came out of prison and he
Mhm.
was walking to freedom. I get teary right now thinking about it. And I've always been so, amazed at what he did and how he overcame the terrible prejudice that happened to him and the certain pillars of what he espoused in his cabinet. He talked about reconciliation, truth, all these aspects to really make the world literally a better place. And so I I actually wrote up in my book about some of the aspects that I wanted to create for him. And so that's that would be, if I ever could do something, that would be an honor. So sadly, he is no longer alive, but his legacy stays with us. And I'm proud to be a South African and proud to say that I was honored that he was able to come to freedom and make changes in South Africa. Let's see who else. You know, it's not about the celebrity, it's not about the person uh, who's famous. It's about an everyday person who just wants to be happy, who wants to be confident. And so, whether it's a celebrity or whether it's, Joe Smith or Jack Smith, Jill Smith, or whomever it might be, that's how I get my joy, by helping people find a fragrance that they love.
Awesome. Oh my God, that was a good choice with Nelson Mandela. I remember that day. I watched it on the TV when he was walking free. I remember that day. Hmm. Yeah. Wow. That is just incredible. Okay, Sue. So now this is my fun question for you.
Okay. Yeah, change the mood.
Yeah, this is a fun question here for you. If your life were a fragrance, what would it be and what would it smell like?
Whoa. Okay. If my life were a fragrance, well, it would certainly be a fragrance that would be very adventurous, very robust, very
Mm.
bold, very sexy, very
Mm.
feminine, and I would have, for the sexy and the feminine and the boldness, I would have some beautiful gardenia florals and some beautiful
Love
patchouli
gardenia.
notes, because patchouli is very sexy. Floral gardenia is just very sensual. For confidence, I would add some citrus notes, because citrus notes, lemons and limes and bergamot, gives you a feeling of being confident and uplifted. So it would be a lovely sort of fresh floral patchouli note with some fruity notes to give it some fun sexiness.
Oh, I like that fragrance. Ooh, that's awesome. Shoot, yeah. I like that, Sue. All right, now, I know you talked about creating for celebrities and things like that, and I am aware that you created a fragrance for Jamie Foxx. What was that like working with Jamie Foxx?
Well, I actually met with Jamie twice, and that was so
Mhm.
wonderful, because the first time they contacted me, his people contacted me, and I was all the way downtown in those days. I had a boutique downtown called the Centarium.
Mhm.
And then when the pandemic came, I closed it. So everything sort of closed down there. And now I'm uptown. But his people contacted me and they said, we would like you to create a fragrance for Foxy. And I had no idea who's Foxy. And then they came to meet with me and I created a fragrance for them. And they said, well, Foxy might like this, Foxy. I say, who the hell is Foxy? I'm sorry, I don't know who Foxy is. And then they told me the next day that he wanted to come and meet with me personally. So then I realized who Foxy was. And he was just
Mhm.
fabulous. So amazing, happy, confident, charming, so considerate, polite, wonderful, funny. I mean, just a great guy. And he actually wanted to create it for the lady he was dating.
Oh,
So
okay.
that was really interesting at that time. You can go back and you can see his history. And I just loved meeting him and seeing him and meeting his people. Well, then last year, to my absolute wonderful amazement, I got a call from his manager who said, Jamie wants to come back and create a fragrance with you again, which was so fantastic. So I met him again,
Yes.
this time uptown, and he came with another friend and he came with his manager. And so he is, he's just so real and so polite and so funny and so friendly. And I mean, what a great guy. So yes, what I would love to do is really create a fragrance for him that he can market and that we can take to the world that reflects who he is, his personality, his kindness, his consideration, his talent, his charm, his sense of humor. I just I love Jamie Foxx. I think he's a great guy and he's so multi-talented. So I'd love to do that for him.
Yes, yes, he's one of my favorites to watch too. I just love his sense of humor, just like you said. And then too, you also got a chance to work with Katie Holmes. What was that like working with her?
Well, Katie was terrific. She came in at actually Jamie's suggestion because all these celebrities know each other. She was lovely. She was very charming, and she was very a little more reserved. She's not as outgoing because she's a little bit more reserved. But she created a fragrance, and I made a fragrance for her. And then I said, "Well, let's make one for your daughter, Suri." So I created a fragrance for her,
Oh, nice.
and she was lovely. The one that I also created a fragrance for was Zendaya. And
Hmm.
Zendaya was so great, and she came to meet with me. And when we created the fragrance, this is the fragrance that she did in this packaging. This was this, you see,
Nice.
it twists and swivels.
Hmm.
And when she wore it, she sprayed it. She said, "Oh, I'm in New York. Let's call it NYC." Then she said, "No, NYZ for Zendaya." So that was great. So she's fabulous. I've worked with Susan Sarandon,
Okay.
Marsha Gay Harden, many people.
Hmm.
I did a fragrance booth at the Oscars a few years ago, and so a lot of the
Okay.
celebrities came to my fragrance bar, and I met so many. And everybody's lovely and charming and nice, and some people are a little bit more outgoing than others, but
Hmm.
people are all the same everywhere. What they want is to smell good, to look good, to feel good, to get compliments, and a fragrance can do that.
Hmm. Oh, that's awesome. Well, you got a nice catalog there. Yes. Yes, I'm very impressed. I can't wait to smell some of your fragrances. Yes.
Thank you. Where are you calling from? Where are you based?
I'm in Florida,
Oh,
Orlando.
Orlando. I'm coming to Florida next week. I'll be in
Oh, you are?
Sarasota.
Okay. Okay.
We'll have to do something in Orlando sometime.
Yes, yes. Let me know. Absolutely. Yes, I'd love to have you come to Orlando. And I might try to come see you in Sarasota. It's only about an hour,
That's
hour
perfect. I'll
drive.
let you know. Absolutely. That's
Okay.
perfect. Great.
Okay. All right. So now if you could go back in time, what advice would you give your younger self?
Um, well, the advice that I've given myself all these years
Mhm.
is to really believe in what you think is right. Never give up. If you think something is doesn't fit well with your beliefs, don't do it. Don't fall into the trap of making doing something that everybody else does, or that agreeing with everybody just because that's the general consensus of opinion. Stand up for what you believe in. Never give up. Follow your dream. Be passionate. and be your own authentic self. It's really interesting you asked me that question because growing up in South Africa, we were never encouraged to ask questions. You couldn't talk about sex because it was such a closed society. You couldn't talk about money. You couldn't talk about politics. You couldn't talk about religion. You really couldn't talk about anything substantial. And so, what did people talk about? They talked about the weather.
Mm.
And, then I came to New York, and everybody here talks about everything. And I realized that, you know, in order to have your own sense of self, you
Mhm.
need to really find out what makes you authentic, what makes you smart, what makes you feel that you know who you are. And so, what I say to people, and when I was the adjunct professor at LIM and FIT, I would say to my students, just think about what is right for you, and
Mhm.
you can't be who everybody else is. You have to be who you are. And so I think that in my later years, as I've matured and I've grown up and I've been in America for so long, that the one thing that sticks out for me is being true to who I am. I can't be what everybody else is. And so that's what I would really say to people. Try and really find the aspects of your life that make you feel confident and happy and authentic and true to you so that it feels good inside. So that is the advice I'd give to myself and I give to other people too.
Yeah, that's good advice. Like I tell everybody, the reason I come up with this concept is because I was bullied growing up. And it's because, I didn't have what other kids have and things like that. So I let that put me in a shell, I let that silence me. I pretty much stayed in the house all of my childhood and things like that. And as I got older in middle school and high school, I think I only had like that one friend because I guess, everybody was so picky and, you weren't good enough or anything like that. But I guess it only take one. So I'm thankful for that one friend. And I was like, I missed so many opportunities because I allowed that to intimidate me and, make me quiet. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to present a platform where everybody's voice can be heard. And that's where my mic, your voice come from. So it's my mic, but it's your voice that's encouraging, uplifting, and, inspiring. So that's the reason why I'm doing what I'm doing today. I'm like, I'm not shutting up anymore. Hey, I'm talking, I'm yelling from the heavens, honey. So
But I think that is so fantastic. Look how you turned it around from somebody who was
yeah.
shy and introspective. And as you said, it's your mic, my mic, but your voice. I think it's wonderful what you're doing. And you're so out there and you're so, charming and just so gracious. All the Instagrams and all the messages you send online, social media, they're just full of positivity, full of confidence, full of authenticity. Congratulations to you. And that's really what resonated with me when you contacted me. I get a lot of people contacting me, and sometimes I'm able to do it and sometimes I'm not. But I really loved all the things that you wrote. And I want to thank you so much for,
Oh,
number
thank
one,
you.
reaching out to me and finding me and contacting me and having me on your show. And doing what you do is so wonderful. So, congratulations to you.
But thank you. I always try to be encouraging and uplifting. So when I write, that's authentic. That's me.
It's absolutely, I
Yes.
totally understand and get that. Yes.
Yes, I love meeting people, and I'm in the process of writing. I have like 3 or 4 notebooks full of writings. So I'm like, like I say, from over the years, and I'm like, you know what, I'm going to do something about it. So I'm in the process of working on that right now as well.
Definitely, writing is so cathartic. We all have a history. We all have ideas. We all have, you know, dreams and maybe regrets, but, put it down. Definitely write it out there. I love to write. And so it's a lovely thing to do and then you can go back and read. what you wrote, years later.
Yes.
It's great.
Yes, yes, absolutely. But thank you. I really appreciate it. And like I said, I do appreciate you taking the time. And I was thrilled when you said, yes, you would love to come on my show. I was like, what? So I'm very grateful and thankful for that. Absolutely. Now, working in a demanding field, when all the lights are gone down and put all the scents away, what do Sue do to unwind and relax?
Well, I love to read. I love to cook. And honestly, there are times that I will just take the time to sometimes, I'll watch. I love documentaries, so I love to learn about things. I don't do as much exercise as I would like to. Really have to do that. But I'm very family oriented. I contact my brother who lives in California. I have a friend who's 98 years old who's in the hospital or the nursing home. I go and see her. Sometimes it's good just to get away from all the things and then go and help somebody else. So I go and see my friend Betty in the nursing home quite often. She just is down the road from me. But I think reading, listening, watching documentaries, writing, I love to write, I love to read, but I'm always busy. And I think that's a very bad word. One shouldn't be busy, one should be productive. So I try and be productive, even when I'm not working at my desk or at my boutique. I try and be really productive, and I try to just stimulate my brain. Sometimes you need to turn off your brain, but I find it very relaxing to learn about things, to look at documentaries, to read, to be with my family, be with my friends.
Do you have a favorite vacation spot?
Um, I wouldn't say, I mean, I love Paris. I've been to Paris many times. I love Paris. I love London. Um, I love South Africa. But I like to explore. I'm very much an adventurer. So, you know, I like to go to different places. I've never been to Thailand, and I would love to go there. But I've been to Morocco. I've been to China. I've been to Japan. I've been to South America. I've been to Europe.
Wow.
I've never been to these Scandinavian countries. And for me, it's all about, what can I learn? What can I experience? I love different foods. I love different ingredients. So for me, a vacation would be something where I would go to explore different ingredients, different foods, different flavors, the senses, because that really stimulates me.
Oh, that's nice. I've always wanted to go to Thailand, Japan. I've been to Paris, Morocco. I would love to do. I would love to go to Tahiti.
Yes. Oh, I'd love to go there.
Yeah. So those are some bucket list to dos.
But we should
So
go
hopefully
together.
one day.
We're going to explore things together.
Yes, one day. Yes, and I love food. So anything with good food, yes, yes, I love food. All right. Well, I do appreciate you talking with me today, Sue. Now, before we wrap it up, I see you have the book there, The Power of Perfume. You want to tell us a little bit about your book?
Yes, thank you. So I told you I love to write. So I wrote my book, The Power of Perfume, and I wrote it at the time of the pandemic because my boutique was downtown, and then everything shut down. No one was going anywhere, and I'd always written articles for different publications as a beauty editor or beauty writer. And I said, it's time to write my book. So I wrote a book called The Power of Perfume. And what happened was, it's a great book with a lot of different stories, a lot of different aspects of perfumery, all the pictures that I've met with people and so on. But what happened was, because of the book and because of COVID, many people lost their sense of smell during COVID. And the one thing that happens with COVID-19 is you become anosmic, which means you cannot smell. And if you cannot smell, you cannot taste because they're so linked.
Mhm.
And so, because of the book, NBC wanted to do a story about how many people had lost their sense of smell during COVID. And they said, Sue, do you think you could help somebody? I said, well, I don't know, but I'll try. And I had a pop up boutique at that time because I had closed my boutique downtown, but I had a pop up boutique.
Mhm.
And NBC crew came with this woman who had not been able to smell for 18 months. And she actually, I took her on a fragrance journey, and she was smelling, sniffing, nothing. By the 14th one, she suddenly said, I smell something and it's beautiful. She started to cry. And it was the most powerful moment because after so many months of not being able to smell, suddenly she was able to smell. And so, because of the book, I was able to help this woman, and the book went, the story went viral. I've had many TV interviews and so on, and people have
Mhm.
contacted me to really regain their sense of smell. So I'm writing a second book now with a neuroscientist who really wants to talk about the power of the limbic system and the neuroscience and the olfactory to bring it all together. And then one day I'll write my memoir. So yes, I have 3 more books in me.
Okay, awesome. Well, I'm just so impressed with you, and I'm going to continue to follow your path because I like the direction you're going in. It's so
Okay.
positive and so inspiring, and inspiring to women, yes, especially. Absolutely. Let them know that you can do anything you want to do. Absolutely.
You know, I'll just say one thing about where we all are in life. And you said when you were a young girl, you only had one friend and you were so shy and you were so introspective and, it bothered you. I think what we all need to know is that the past is the past. We cannot change it. Whatever happens in the past, you might not want to forget about it, but you can't change it. So leave it in the past. The future is all about what's coming, but we don't know what's coming. So don't, put off for today what you think is going to happen tomorrow. The only thing we have is right now is the present. And we have to make the present be lasting, be memorable, and be absolutely, for us. And so don't have regrets about what happened in the past because you can't change it. And that's how I really literally live my life these days. I live very much for right now, being in the present because that's all we have.
It's so funny that you said that because I just wrote that on someone's comment this morning on Instagram. That very same
Really.
thing. I sure did. Try to be encouraging and inspiring. It was a
Right.
young man because people always think men are supposed to be just this strong figure all the time when they're just as human as we
Of
are.
course.
They hurt
Absolutely.
and have emotions just like we do. So I was
Exactly.
just encouraging him. Don't worry about the past. Look forward to the future. We won't forget it, but we can forgive and move forward.
Right.
Absolutely. I was just writing it this morning.
Great. Terrific.
Yes, yes. And what charities do you support, and let everybody know how they can support them as well, Sue?
So my mom was a wonderful artist. In fact, in the book, I dedicate the my book to my mom and my daughter. This is my mom. She was a beautiful artist and
Oh, she's
a
beautiful.
painter. Her name was Grace, and this is my daughter Romy. And I
She's
dedicate
beautiful
my book to
too.
both of them. So my mom was an amazing artist, but sadly, at the end of her life, she got Alzheimer's and dementia.
Mhm.
So I do a lot of fundraising for Alzheimer's and a lot of philanthropy for Alzheimer's because also fragrance and memory are so connected. So
Mhm.
I do a lot of fundraisers for Alzheimer's, and it's sort of my charity that I, I've promoted and I've worked with for years and years and years. When you lose your memory, it's tragic, and it's tragic for the people who are your family members and friends because
Mhm.
they're watching this wonderful person sort of slowly decline. So I like to support a lot of different things, but truly the one that I support completely is Alzheimer's because when you've lost your sense of memory, it's devastating.
Yeah, well, that's a good charity. I like that. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, once again, I do appreciate you coming on, Sue. Thank you. I have enjoyed this conversation, and you have been inspiring and uplifting to me as well. So I do truly appreciate you for that. And give my best to Betty when you go see her today, because I know when I was talking
Okay.
to you the other day, you was visiting with her then. So let her know
Yes,
I said hello again.
I will. Thank you so much, Brenda. It's lovely to meet you and talk to you. And I will let you know when I'll be in Sarasota from the 30th until May the 4th. And I
Okay.
would love to meet with you if you can possibly come to meet with me. That would be great.
Okay. All right. Well, send me the information, and then we'll go from there.
All right.
Thank
Thank
you.
you so much. God bless. Have a lovely day.
Thank
Thank you for
you.
the opportunity. I love talking to you. Take
Thank
care.
you. Bye
Bye.
now. Oh, they watched. Oh, okay. Cool.